Hello, I'm Natalie Becker. Welcome to It's Africa's Time. Africa has a young and growing population in search of opportunity. Its wealth lies primarily with its people. By enabling these individuals to engage in business, the private sector can unleash people's potential and facilitate the upward growth path of emerging African economies. Education and access to finance are two critical pillars for this growth and key drivers for sustainable socio-economic development on the continent. In today's show, we travel to South Africa's Eastern Cape province, where Siemens is investing in education and the construction of the Mandela School of Science and Technology. But before that, we chat with Stanley Subramani, strategy leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers and chairperson of the NEPAD Business Foundation, about private sector, inclusive business, and the Africa of tomorrow.
Well, I think firstly, Africa's population is now reaching over 1 billion people. It's a young and dynamic population. And I think Africa's growth story is more than just a commodity play. The Africa of tomorrow is an Africa where you can move from Cape to Cairo free of any political or bureaucratic interferences, a continent where goods and services are able to move across, and a continent where money is able to move across. Because you see, the world is becoming highly competitive. And what we need to do, we must make sure Africa is open for business and that the business environment is conducive for low-cost delivery models. Inclusive business, responsible business, corporate citizenry is very important for the Africa of tomorrow. The huge challenge of unemployment, poverty and equality is pervasive across the African continent. GDPs of many countries and many regions have significantly increased over the last 5 years. But what is very, very telling is that the levels of poverty have stayed the same. So inclusive business, smart partnerships, public-private partnerships is key if we want to confront this challenge of unemployment and poverty.
Tata Nelson Mandela gave 67 years of his life fighting for the rights of humanity. On July the 18th, International Mandela Day, all South Africans are called upon to spend at least 67 minutes of their time doing something to uplift their communities. At the Mandela School of Science and Technology, built and financed by Siemens in Mandela's birthplace, activities included a tour of the completed facilities, the donation of the sports pavilion to the community represented by Chief Mandela, and tree planting by VIPs and community members. The children of Mvezo also had the opportunity to engage in science experiments and computer lessons.
Honorable Minister of Basic Education, Honorable Premier of the Eastern Cape, Chief Mandela and all the traditional leaders, the community of Mvezo, our inspiration came from your leader Nelson Mandela, who said, and we can read it all on the t-shirt of the young kids here, that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world.
And then the idea came up, can we do something here in that area, in the Eastern Cape where Madiba was born, that's also linked to technology. And therefore it's not just an ordinary secondary school, it is a school for science and technology.
We want to therefore take this opportunity to thank Professor Dr. Rosum for coming here and donating the sports pavilion. Education is a single largest investment precisely because it is the key to ending poverty, to ending unemployment, ending inequality, and accelerating long-term inclusive economic growth. We are very grateful to Siemens for making this possible by taking the decision to work with government in building schools for our country and our children, especially in the historically disadvantaged communities. You have no idea, this is huge.
So it's really resources, it's facilities. As you can see here, the villages are dispersed, so it's very difficult to have very good infrastructures to start with that will create an enabling environment for both our learners and our teachers.
This is the school where we are informed Mandela studied. And now the only thing that is left of the school is this Rondaville. This area had a rich traditional history, but the people of the area, not many of their children went high in education. At Dalindyebo, where I was principal, children from this area would walk to Dalindyebo, which was quite a long distance.
Those that even dared to go outside our borders and seek to pursue their education further went to Mthatha, went to Dutwa, but they faced challenges merely from being outside parental control, and they were prone to teenage pregnancy, substance abuse, and they would automatically fail and drop out of school. With this school being here in our vicinity, they'll be able to complete their matric and will be able to position themselves for better careers in engineering.
Education is freedom because it gives you more knowledge and you can get job easily.
This high school will have a capacity of 700 learners, starting from grade 8 to grade 12, with those 4 streams from grade 10 to 12. So Mvezo brought in the agriculture space. Engineering and IT very much was a Siemens contribution, whilst the Department of Education brought with it the future doctor, the science, the physical sciences.
Food security is high on our agenda, and we would like to see in 20 years these youth coming out of this school being able to utilize these lands and ensuring that they are being productive and are able not only to feed themselves but to feed the market of Mthatha.
Well, of course, looking just at the infrastructure and equipment, the modern technology that has come in, we're looking forward to production of the best crop of children.
I am very excited to go to Nelson Mandela School of Science and Technology because it's a school of my favorite subject.
This area has had around 32 smaller schools that needed to feed into a senior secondary school. My impressions is that this school is going to fulfill many dreams of parents that wanted their children educated and many dreams of children that are bright and needed to go further with their education.
So when I talked a couple of years ago for the first time with the parents of those kids here in the village, they were so desperate that the kids are getting some kind of education, and now they worked, I think, until midnight tonight to really see that this school is coming together. They are so excited to be part of that program, and they learned a lot, if it is bricklaying or plastering or painting, and they will find much easier now a job with the next construction site.
People are going to benefit from it. Firstly are the children, because some of them are going to start high school, so they won't have to go far. They will study nearby. And then the parents on the other side are going to get jobs. Like, for instance, they're going to be cooking here, they're going to be cleaning, so some of them are going to, maybe they will be employed here. I think that the kids will go to university, they will come back and build the community through the knowledge.
Right from the beginning, it became clear that the Mvezo community and villages outside of the Mvezo community do not have jobs. In total, we have 200 laborers at the site. The women insisted that they wanted to be a part of building the school for their children.
It's an institution of transformation. It also transforms the mindset that rural areas are backward areas. We really say it's a groundbreaking mechanism to ensure that we deal with the legacy of apartheid in action.
I want to start very serious and I want to pass grade 12. I want to be a doctor. I want to decrease a higher rate of disease like TB, HIV and AIDS.
Currently, we have a lot of capacity and individuals who are expats who are coming into this country. We need as a country to start growing our own talent because we have that potential to do so. And science and technology, specifically those two fields, which lead into medical technology, into engineering, into aviation, as Siemens, that speaks to us. because we see it on a daily basis, the number of graduate students that we can readily employ, that funnel is thinning out. And we need to start as corporates with a social conscience, start plowing into those communities, and specifically into rural communities, because that's where we have a lot of potential that has not been tapped as yet.
Siemens has committed to the school's environmental sustainability and has implemented both wind and solar energy to assist in powering the facilities. Energy-efficient lighting, automation systems, rainwater capture and water filtration technologies have also been incorporated. Construction will be complete at the end of 2013, and in January 2014, the school will open its doors to the first intake of students from grade 8, 9 and 10.
Well, the Siemens Foundation will get involved just now as the building of the school is coming together, because we as a foundation, we concentrate on the training of the teachers, not just for this school, but for the whole region of Eastern Cape.
I train principals, I train officers of the government, I train teachers in management, as well as community members in project management. We want to start as if we have been running for the past 5 years.
I expect that ultimately this school will become the top school and the top performing school in the Eastern Cape. The Department of Education is in agreement with us, and they have plowed a lot of time, specialists, subject matter specialists, into the school in developing the curriculum, in ensuring that the right teachers are attracted.
Once they put their foot in that gate, they must focus on ensuring that they build themselves a better future as change agents in their own homes. Happy birthday, Dadath. We can pride ourselves in saying you led the way, you truly showed leadership. Everybody now is mobilized.
That's the message to the young: learn and make your own faith. And to all the elders, to the parents, make sure the best that you can give to your kids is education.
Welcome back. Next, we travel to Nigeria, where NEXIM, the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, is facilitating the growth of small and medium enterprise by providing finance to build export capacity and increase local job creation. We also meet Issa Faye of the African Development Bank and Mojisola Akpogio of UNDP Nigeria.
Our role is trying to foster inclusive growth, to foster green growth, and make sure that this economic transformation happens in Africa. And the public sector alone cannot do it all. The public sector can be a facilitator, making the environment, making sure that the investment climate is conducive for doing business. And the business now has to take it up to the next level. It needs to produce the goods and the services and make sure that everyone's have access to different opportunities. So the business is really at the core of development. And we know the private sector account for about 90% of job creation in Africa. So you need to create jobs to make sure that people have access to opportunities, that people can have regular incomes and increase the demand, and then the private sector can thrive.
Riggs Ventures West Africa was started in Nigeria in 1998 to produce agricultural bags for local sales and later for export to Benin and Ivory Coast. With financial support from the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Riggs have now expanded their capacity and their product range to include cement and industrial bags as well. Because the supply gap is huge, the company is currently still catering to local demand, but plans to commence exporting to neighboring West and Central African countries in the near future.
I imported the first set of machinery from China. Unfortunately, I realized that the technology is not good enough. I therefore decided to look for some machineries from the West.
In other countries, you sort of have where the the government encourages manufacturing and then banks give you like a long-term loan and then they help you out. In Nigeria, that isn't readily available. So you don't have such regulations and rules that help promote the manufacturing sector. So it's quite difficult.
I was able to secure a $10 million facility, and I brought in the state-of-the-art machinery, which increased my production capacity from 9 million bags to 69 million bags. Without the support of Nigeria Export-Import Bank, it would have been almost impossible to do that in Nigeria.
Nigerian Export-Import Bank is government trade policy bank that is mandated to help the government diversify its investments from oil to non-oil. So NEXIM chose to concentrate in what we call the mass sectors of the Nigerian economy, namely these: manufacturing for export, agri-processing for export, solid minerals extraction for export, and provision of services. RIGS is actually a company that is devoted to production of polypropylene bags.
The main challenge would be power, the issue of power in Nigeria. Power instability, so that the cost of actually producing your own power, like running generators, is astronomically high.
For example, in my factory right now, the public power supply is the backup. The main power supply is from the generators, which are run at very, very huge cost. Apart from that, there is also the dearth of skilled manpower. We have a lot of people that are educated here, but they do not have the technological know-how. There is also the issue of multiple taxation, and lastly, the issue of sourcing funds.
Everyone's trying to go away from oil and looking for clean fuel and other alternative forms of energy. So if the world is going in that direction, the demand for oil is obviously going to drop. In Nigeria, we can't just base our economy on just oil exports.
Right now, 98% of our export is on oil. You can only create jobs by getting into the rich sectors of the economy. Like what I'm doing, I'm employing about 500 people. Most people in oil exports, they are in much higher volume, yet they are not employing people. And we need to diversify this economy.
Well, maybe in Nigeria, we have very intelligent people. We can do anything. But we need that support from the government. If the government can give us that support through rules and regulations, and also regarding to the regulatory policies with the banks, that will help drive business development.
The role of central bank now is not just limited to a sound financial system. It's also looking at how do we finance regrowth, how do we intervene in those sectors that we believe are very key to our economic development. Like in NEXIM, for instance, a greater proportion of our lending is to the SMEs. Almost 80% is to the SMEs. Have the capacity to generate foreign exchange, create wealth for Nigeria, and reduce poverty. So they are actually the engine of growth. We have sectors, apart from oil, that have very high growth potentials. Talk about solid minerals, for instance. We have about 34 solid minerals in commercial quantities. Yet, as we speak now, it is contributing less than 1% to our GDP. So what does that tell us? That huge potentials that have not even been scratched.
I started by operating the quarry. We are involved in the dimension stone business, where we are processing granite into building finishes. Oil is not the only resource that we have in Nigeria. We have a lot of mineral resources, and granite is one of them, and it is in abundance in the country. It's difficult to secure funding, especially from the commercial banks, because of the tenure, which is very short, and then the interest rates are also very high. We have received NEXIM facilities on several occasions. The tenure is longer, and also the interest rate is a single-digit interest rate. NEXIM funded our expansion program, which involves a new block cutter, edge polishing machine, and the crane. And that has gone a long way in improving the quality of our products, in increasing our volume of production. Presently, we provide employment for almost 90 people, and many people are learning in the granite business, which is new in Nigeria. Most of our staff have gone on training even abroad, in Italy, in China, in Spain. For now, we are not exporting because we are unable to meet the local production, but we are planning to export in future, starting from the West African region. We are also planning to export the blocks to Europe. In 5 years, we want to increase our production by almost 3 times our present capacity.
We cannot fulfill our mandate if we don't help the government to create jobs. Because a country that has most of its population under 30, it will be a ticking time bomb if you don't get your acts together to create jobs amply for this segment of the population.
Beno Hotels is entirely owned by the state government. Luxurium's role is to manage the hotel most effectively for the state government.
NEXIM contributed around $400,000 to the renovation of the state-owned Benue hotels, which started in 2012. Once the facilities upgrade is complete, many local jobs will be created for unemployed youth, and these new staff members will attend hospitality training courses. The hotel will also facilitate domestic tourism and business travel and will provide extensive benefit to the local economy.
You know very well the number of workers that you require to run a hotel. Hotels are the anchor for tourists, for the tourist industry. And Luxurium is in Benue State, Makurdi, and it's not too far away from Abuja.
We have the challenges of non-availability of power supply, because companies have to rely entirely on their generator and the cost of diesel. And also, another challenge is that we don't have internet services in most of the hotels in the country. And then, most of the tourist attractions are not being developed. The government should encourage these industries to grow and not to impose so many taxes on them.
We are in business to build, to help grow the SMEs. And then they become very attractive to commercial banks if they still need to be taking facilities. Now, this is a revolving kind of scheme. We are trying to ensure that we are not just in business for today, but we are setting up very strong bridges for people to cross into the future.
Nigeria's economy right now is actually experiencing very good growth. In the past decade, it's been at about 7%, and 70% of us live in the rural areas. And it is no secret to say that the infrastructure in the rural area is very, very poor and non-existent. There's very little access to markets as a result. The state of healthcare is abysmal, to say the least. We have challenges with maternal mortality. We have challenges with child mortality. Our education indices are plummeting, and all of us definitely are very, very poor indices when it comes to economic growth. UNDP is that there's very strong collaboration and partnerships with government institutions to ensure that many of those factors are addressed. So we're designing new programs every day. We're talking to governments, we're talking to civil society organizations to get them to start to work together, make a concerted effort towards translating the current boosting economy to real growth for the people. The country is now ready to open up their economy, particularly to foreign investment. And above all, they're ready to start to look at reforms, ensuring that they increase the numbers of intermediaries that ensures that buyers and sellers are actually able to meet and conduct business. One of the key initiatives is the Growing Inclusive Market Initiative, and there is the one that we have in Nigeria, which I coordinate, the Facility for Inclusive Markets. What that is all about is actually working with the private sector, developing the private sector, raising their promoting advocacy and raising awareness around the need to incorporate people at the bottom of a pyramid into economic activities, creating a space for them, so to speak, to play, and also ensuring that services and public services and goods are provided in the way that poor people can also access.
thank you to all our contributors on today's show. Join us next month on Tuesday the 10th of September as we bring you news stories of inclusive business across the continent. But for now, thanks for watching.